is here, but I'm going to hand over to Lee and to Lillian for the first session. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Richard. So good morning. I'm very happy to present our paper. The title is about how AI literate are academic staff, a case study of staff perception on artificial intelligence adoption in higher education. So our team include Dr. Xue Zhou, me, Lei Fang, and Dr. Lillian Schofield, who's also here. All of us are from Queen Mary, University of London. So in this paper, we try to answer two research questions. So first is, what is the current level of AI literacy among the staff? And what benefits and concerns do staff identify regarding the adoption of AI in teaching and research? You may be curious that why we focus on the staff perspective. So there are three reasons. First, many of the studies on AI in education have been written from students' perspectives, so there is a gap in literature. Second, there is a push to focus on academic staff's readiness and adoption of AI. For example, Russell Group highlights the essential need for AI literacy among both students and educators. Finally, staff attitudes play a crucial role, especially because their resistance potentially constitute a barrier to advancing AI integration in the education sector. So to answer the research questions, we surveyed 106 academic staff. We adopt a mixed methods approach. For the quant data, we run descriptive analysis and a contingency table analysis to analyze data from closed-ended questions. For the qualitative data, we do thematic analysis. So here is our key findings. First, there is a low AI adoption and poor integration. For example, only 49% of the staff use AI in their daily work. And among those who use AI, 71% of them use ChatGPT only and for writing assistant only. So in this table, we can see most of the staff members who are familiar with AI literacy. They say they are familiar with AI literacy, like somewhat familiar, very familiar, but very surprisingly, 39 of them has never used AI or only used ChatGPT. Similarly, regarding the confidence, you can see that among all those who are very confident, like somewhat confident or extremely confident, again, many of them only use ChatGPT. So that is puzzle here. So the puzzle is a significant number of academic staff members are familiar with the concept of AI and confident in using it, yet they do not utilize or integrate it in their academic work. Then we turn to our second research question to see the perceived benefits. Sorry, it's not about the perceived benefits. It's about the training. So we can see that only 12 participants have received AI-related training. The low percentage is mainly because of the reluctance of staff to undergo training. For example, out of the 7 participants who are not familiar with AI, none of them have received any AI-related training. So this suggests that they have limited knowledge of AI and are unwilling to get any training to enhance their understanding of AI. Very similarly, among the participants who are somewhat familiar with AI, only 7 of them, that's around 11%, has received AI-related training. That means that for the remaining participants, they do not want to get training to improve their knowledge of AI, even though they are only somewhat familiar, not very familiar. Then we turn to our second research question to see the perceived benefits and concerns related to AI. So we carry out thematic analysis. We find 3 themes regarding the perceived benefits, including improved research capacities, enhanced teaching, and efficiency in admin tasks. So now, let's look at the concerns of using AI. We use TPACK and TPACK framework to do the thematic analysis. TPACK. Educators into their training, into their teaching, they must develop skills across the 3 primary knowledge domains: technological knowledge, TK, pedagogical knowledge, PK, and the content knowledge, that's CK. There are also intersections, for example, TCK, TPK, and the TPACK. So this is a basic introduction of the theoretical framework. By using this theoretical framework, we find 7 themes and their codes on concerns in AI adoption in higher education, which is summarized in this pyramid in this figure. We further categorize the 7 themes into 4 types, mapping to the TPACK concepts. That's TK, TCK, TPK, and TPACK. So the highest level of concern is related to policies and guidance, mainly lack of policy, lack of consistency, and overregulation. Since TPACK is a combined form of knowledge and skills, the policies and guidance serve as a synthesized frameworks guiding AI application in higher education. So we categorize it as TPACK. So under a category of TK is AI innovation characteristics, which are related to having insufficient understanding of AI or overly relying on AI. That's technological knowledge. And under the category of TCK, the quality and the reliability of AI outputs is a major concern. So AI may operate based on unreliable data source and generate inaccurate or even non-existing content. So most of the concerns are on TPK, that's technological pedagogical knowledge, including inclusive education, like unequal access to AI, employability development, like lack of critical thinking, and teaching and learning implementation, like diminished learning outcome and fake confidence. 52 out of the 106 participants are concerned with assessment on plagiarism and reduced integrity. Based on the findings, we argue that current AI training for academic staff is largely ineffective. Many staff members' knowledge is primarily limited to ChatGPT, with little exploration of other AI tools relevant to their specific fields. Effective AI training should address the key issue on how to integrate AI into education. And second, our analysis indicates that technological pedagogical knowledge, TPK, presents the biggest challenge, which contributes to staff's reluctance to adopt AI. This concern is on students' laziness. The students might learn less and less while they develop a false confidence about their learning. The solution to this issue is related to the next challenge on policy and guidance. The next challenge related to TPACK is either lack of policy and guidance or too much regulation, that's excessive regulation. a clear and comprehensive guidelines is important, not just limited to this concern on policy, but also on the big TPK challenge. With very clear guidelines, both the students and staff will learn how to use AI properly in teaching and learning. So this will solve most of the concerns and therefore overcome the resistance of AI adoption. So these two are linked together. So that's basically everything about our presentation, and at the end we want to do an advertisement of a new center, which is Center for Excellence in AI in Education, which will launch very soon. It's Queen Mary's AI Center in Education, and here's the link, and you can have access to it using this QR code. So that's basically about my presentation. So I will stop my presentation here, and I welcome any questions or comments.
Okay, thank you very much. Do we have any questions? People can raise their hands. It's unlike other conferences, we can actually speak on this one, not just use the chat function. So I'm wondering whether to give people a few minutes to think and maybe raise hands. Okay, Melanie, if you'd like to, that's a hand raised, is it? I think. So if you'd like to ask a question.
Yeah, can you hear me? I just want to make sure everything's working.
Yeah, that's great.
So I actually had a question about the reluctance to adopt for some academics and some people using AI. Was there any consideration about the massive environmental impacts? Because that's my main reason for not adopting it, is that I don't want to contribute to the use of water and the use of power that it sucks up if it's not necessary.
Okay, very good question. So actually, we have a very interesting observation, because I'm from School of Math, and that means all the staff or colleagues in our school are very good at math. They are not considered a math background in using AI. But very interestingly, very few of them embed AI in their teaching. They use it in academic research, but they do not use quite a lot of AI tools in education. That means maybe for other schools like School of Business, the complicated math behind AI may be a reason that as people do not use it too much. But here in Queen Mary, in School of Math, the mathematicians also do not use it very much. So that's an observation I want to say. So there might be some other reasons, not just, for example, they do not know how to integrate it into education about the research, but do not know how to link. That's why we say TPK challenges. It's about how to integrate pedagogical things. It's a very good question. Thank you.
Thank you.
When I was interested, I guess I was interested in that, the disciplinary dimension, but also whether you had any sense of where colleagues were getting their information about AI from. So certainly in some of the work we've done, it's often from the kind of popular media and from online rather than directly from their own experience. So the concerns about academic integrity have tended to dominate some of the discussions, not because they think they're seeing lots of AI generated essays, though they are, but because they see the few they see that they think of as being just the tip of the iceberg because of what the media are saying about it. Just wonder whether you had any sense of that from your data.
Yeah, that's also a very good comment. So I think most of them are concerned about plagiarism and integrity. They are afraid that when we allow students to use it, the students may be very lazy and just cheating the exam, especially for the online ones. Yes, that's a very good comment. Yes, people have quite a lot of concerns regarding it. And we propose that if we have very clear policy and guidance, for the time being, we really do not have very clear guidance on it, at least in primary. So if we have policies and guidance, for example, we strictly forbidden such plagiarism. Instead, we guide students to use AI to increase their critical thinking and also to help them do some analysis. That will be very helpful. Thank you, Richard. That's also an interesting comment.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's interesting that at universities, and again, I'd be interested to see where this is common across all universities, but certainly colleagues who want to have certainty in the policy, as opposed to just try and make it up as they go along. There's I think we've become, as universities, we've become much more dominated by that kind of governance model of policy, which I think is problematic when AI is very uncertain. And certainly our early work on detection software was that it wasn't very effective at all. So it became very difficult in terms of generating clear policy when we didn't really know where things were going.
Yeah, so policy is very urgent, and it's more and more urgent. I can feel it because during this summer we have master's supervision about their dissertation. We received quite a lot of emails asking some students use AI. What should we do with it? Is there any guidelines on it? People are very worried about it. And another concern about it, some people do not trust AI. It is because sometimes ChatGPT can be very silly. For example, if we ask them to do like qualitative analysis, it can generate or make up the quotes that do not exist. I have such experience myself, and I also heard about such comments from other colleagues. So that can be another reason. So that falls into TCK, that's the quality and reliability of AI.
Yeah. I think I'm just keeping an eye, see if any hands are going up, because I can talk about AI all day. I mean, I think that that sense of lack of or lack of control is in terms of quality and what students are doing and how we can advise them is something of an oddity in higher education, is that we're quite used to being in control of what's going on, but AI kind of flips a lot of what power we thought we had in relation to student assignments. And I know my students are asking questions about where's the point, where's the line at which I can use AI for, and then not go over it, whereas actually that line just seems to be very difficult to define clearly. You want to say we can use it for these, and then well, how far do we push that going forward?
Yeah. That remind me of the like many decades ago when we first have the calculator. Many math teachers just say we should not use it because students do not know how to like calculate. Today, we rely on calculators, but we focus on other more advanced areas of math. It's not just about arithmetics, it's more about other areas of math. So I think here for AI, it's a very similar story. People start to resist it because of they are very afraid that students will be lazy without critical thinking. But if properly, like calculators,
Yes.
No,
I think there's interesting historical parallels we could spend a bit more time on discussing. The one that I talked about in my own work is around when my doctoral supervisor some 20-30 years ago now thought that using a computer to cut and paste text was making me lazy, because in his day you had to physically cut the paper up and re-stick it down and then retype everything. And so word processing was kind of making me lazy and not helping my thinking. And as a doctoral student, I think so we've seen this a number of times. I think in technology, I think some questions, and I think you're raising some questions here about where AI cuts into those kind of technological thoughts that and the way in which it fits relationship between technology and pedagogy. Okay, is there any more questions? And if not, we'll move on to our next speaker. I'll just give people a minute maybe to so thank you, Lee. Thank you very, very much. Thank you for that. And we will move on to our second presenter, I think, Akhara Gupta. So that paper, which I'm hoping people have got the abstracts and are probably able to pull them off on terms of from the conference program, because they are available there. But the paper on artificial intelligence powered transformations in higher education. So I'll hand over to you, and we'll take it from there. Thanks very much.
Awesome. Hopefully you can see the slides here me properly. So yeah, thank you so much, Richard, for that. I'm Achla Gupta. So key to pronouncing it correctly is to not pronounce A in the middle of the name and CH as ch. So Achla Gupta. I'm a lecturer in the University of Southampton. I'm a sociologist by training and interested in exploring educational issues sociologically. I'm a co-director of the Center for Research and Inclusion. And although I'm on Twitter, starting to get more active on Blue Sky. So if you are there, it would be good to connect there as well. So as you know, today I would be talking about artificial intelligence powered transformations in higher education. A lot of things that I would say and share are very much in congruency with what has been presented already by Lei Feng and colleagues. So basically, I would be reporting an empirical exploration that I did of artificial intelligence-led educational opportunities and challenges across disciplines in higher education settings. So first, a bit of an introduction. Where is this project situated in the scholarship? We know that technology plays a key role in shaping contemporary education through inventions such as e-learning platforms, digital libraries, and interactive and personalized learning models and resources. Technology has contributed to shaping the everyday practices of teaching and learning. Selwyn's work, published in 2016, is a very good introduction to how do we make sense of technology vis-a-vis education, particularly learning and teaching practices. Now, we know also that the scope of digitalizing universities continues to expand with radical technological interventions in the form of artificial intelligence, alongside developments, obviously, in the field of big data and robotics. Again, Selwyn in 2019 published a book, very provocative. So if you're interested, it's a very good read. For a train journey, I would say, very provocative. So you can also start thinking about some of the research questions along the way for the discussion again on the future of teaching and teachers. So these developments have always occurred in a parallel universe to some extent without really seeming to pose any serious threats to everyday educational practices. But more recently, generative artificial intelligence and the OpenAI defines it as artificially intelligent chatbots that function using LLMs, which is large language models, to generate human-like text responses. So these Gen AI tools have now penetrated educational practices incredibly efficiently and therefore perturbing the education sector and teaching and learning institutions globally, which was not something that we experienced to that extent before generative AI. So Gen AI continues to stir discussions, therefore, on education policy and practice, which is the backdrop of my presentation today. For example, UNESCO produced resources, and there are many more as we speak, I'm sure, to assist nations in taking prompt measures, devising sustainable strategies, and building what they call human skills to ensure that these emerging technologies are centered around people. So we would find change in the discourse, coining of new terms. Human skills probably was not really pronounced in UNESCO reports 10 years ago or so. So we already are experiencing change in discourse vis-a-vis education. So my project, which was funded by the 2023 BERA Small Grant Award, aimed to explore how staff who are not only educators but also experts in academic integrity practices made sense of generative AI in relation to existing practices and policies of academic integrity in higher education settings. So those who are interested in exploratory research, this is a very interesting and useful potentially text, the production of knowledge from methodological point of view. So this is the introduction to the project in which the findings that I will share are nested. So with regards to fieldwork, fieldwork for this study was carried out at a Russell Group University in England between September and December 2023. It involved interviews, only 10, and focus groups with 5 already interviewed members of staff who served as academic integrity officers, or I would say AIOs, as we go on in the presentation, across faculties at the time of data collection in the selected university. So this research received also really important to emphasize ethical approval for conducting an empirical study involving human participants from the University of Southampton, because that's where I'm based and was based as well during fieldwork. Now, this is the more juicy bit. So these are the 3 key themes that I will be covering in the remainder of the presentation. Just one point of clarification at this point. I will use the words research participants and AIOs interchangeably, and Gen AI to refer to generative artificial intelligence. Okay, so the first thing, opportunities Gen AI offers and associated caveats. So some AIOs that I spoke with talked about using Gen AI as a teaching and learning tool for introducing and simplifying complex phenomena across disciplines, followed by, really importantly, critical appraisals. Many of them felt that tools such as ChatGPT have the potential to present complex ideas in simple words using common and accessible phrasing, thus aiding the process of introducing a new topic. However, acknowledging the possibility of Gen AI producing an erroneous knowledge base, which is talked about beautifully in Bender and colleagues' work published in 2021, these AIOs felt strongly that educational inputs from Gen AI ought to be critically discussed in the classroom to ensure deep learning. This approach, some AIOs felt, would not just ensure engagement with Gen AI in learning, which they felt would be inevitable as the technology becomes embedded in most aspects of social life, but also teach students not to rely on it solely for accurate and well thought through results. Gen AI has another point that was raised in interviews was that Gen AI has the potential to expand the knowledge and the skills the universities provide to future graduates, thus radically enhancing students' higher education experiences. To expand on that point further, given the pervasiveness of Gen AI in a variety of employment sectors such as health and business, some AIOs felt that teaching and learning in future will be mediated by this technology. AIOs from engineering, for example, suggested that akin to the changes brought to higher education through the incorporation of computers and calculators, we just talked about those, it is possible that the more time-intensive aspects of a student work can be reduced, thus offering learners as well as educators more time to focus on higher level and more creative work that might be more in alignment with human intelligence. This speaks to the ongoing discourse on the relationship between education and machine learning. Al-Padain's work, published in 2016, is a very good account of that scholarship. Finally, AIOs talked about students using Gen AI as a personal tutor to engage more effectively with their educational materials. Some AIOs alluded to the opportunity Gen AI offers for overcoming language barriers, especially for students whose first language is not English, to support communication with their peers and educators. Now, this has to be seen more seriously, because this is really the context of the majority of universities, especially Russell Group universities in England, that they rely on international students for financial stability. So yeah, and there are some other works that has happened. An example of this is here, where people, particularly in computer sciences, have used tutors to enable learning to take place that otherwise would not have been possible. Now, second bit is the challenges of using generative AI in contemporary higher education settings. Now, most AIOs maintain that the use of Gen AI undermines the principles and values of universities. Alongside problematizing Gen AI tools for reproducing problematic and likely erroneous knowledge, which I talked about, AIOs highlighted the implications of Gen AI usage in homogenizing students' relationship to learning. For example, producing texts in similar styles using very specific approaches only, thus potentially leading to the demise of creativity, as one of the participants said, in students' higher education experiences. Now, again, this has been talked about by Chu and colleagues, published a paper published in 2023. This process the participants felt could be challenging to monitor and manage with a widespread use of Gen AI by students that is unprompted by educators. You can still incorporate Gen AI in your teaching and learning, but you cannot really control student use of Gen AI outside of the classroom practices of it. All the research participants highlighted that Gen AI challenges learning and assessment practices and poses a serious threat to contemporary measures of ensuring academic integrity in universities. They discussed how the use of Gen AI tools can potentially de-skill students if they continually rely on these tools and not just use them when needed for their engagement in lectures, structuring their work, and articulating their ideas. Similar findings have been shared by Darvishi and colleagues in a paper published in Computers and Education in 2024. This in turn therefore raises the question of what students are being assessed on, AIOs felt, and the implications of the lack of clarity on how Gen AI use speaks to discourses on current assessment criteria and practices. Moreover, staff maintained that the lack of possibility of monitoring Gen AI use significantly compromises equity in assessments and quality assurance of higher education qualifications. Right. So this is a third part of the findings. Disciplinary variations in understanding Gen AI-led opportunities and challenges. So there were notable, as expected, disciplinary differences in how research participants articulated their willingness to harness the opportunities arising from the use of Gen AI. For example, its use was deemed less helpful in teaching undergrad medicine courses, where greater emphasis is placed on practice-based learning, teaching and assessment models. In contrast, its use was advocated for accessing knowledge produced in a foreign language to enhance arguments in history. Similarly, the key disciplinary variations in understanding Gen AI-induced challenges and explaining them stemmed from disciplinary-rooted learning and assessment practices and future employment prospects. AIOs from the disciplines that focus on assessing students' knowledge predominantly through extended written assignments, which often take place in social sciences and arts and humanities, were more likely to see the use of Gen AI as a crisis than their counterparts, say, for example, in medicine, which I've already talked about in undergrad. They rely less on assignments that are based on essays and more on exams. Moreover, in fields such as engineering, where artificial intelligence is generally embraced less reservedly, both within academia as well as in relevant industry, the AIOs felt that students ought to learn the processes that can eventually be fast-tracked by using Gen AI tools, because not knowing this may have potential ramifications for students' employment opportunities. Right. So in conclusion, this research acknowledges the very unique set of opportunities Gen AI tools provide for enhancing the teaching and learning potentials and capabilities of educators and students in HE practices. But it also underscores the challenges these tools bring to the HE sector. Although some AIOs were more skeptical than others. Everyone agreed on the increasing pervasiveness of Gen AI and felt it would inevitably be embedded in educational practices, with many higher education institutions already making necessary investments to realize this aspiration. I think presentation before me captured how AI literacy has become a very key area of investment among specific universities, particularly is the case for Russell Group universities. The following recommendations hopefully will aid universities, staff, and students in harnessing Gen AI-induced opportunities while hopefully, again, simultaneously mitigating the challenges. The first recommendation I would offer is that the university should have a very clear stance and a coordinated approach towards the use and misuse of Gen AI, which should be readily available to staff and students to refer to. Second is staff should be provided with upskilling, training, and support to maximize the opportunities Gen AI brings to their subject and discipline and address the challenges it may pose. It's not just about AI literacy in terms of harnessing the opportunity, but also how to address the challenges that comes with it. Education policies, including those related to academic integrity, should be reviewed and revised if necessary, and more importantly, made flexible enough to accommodate changes in the ever-evolving field of Gen AI. They need to respond very effectively to Gen AI-led transformations that are often rapid and radical. Finally, universities should create opportunities and platforms for dialogue among staff in consultation with the students for their representatives to discuss how Gen AI can enhance higher education experiences, address emerging educational challenges, implement policies effectively, and enforce best practices regarding Gen AI usage. So if you are interested in the detailed reporting of anything that I've mentioned, please do feel free to check out the project report, which is available open access through BERA. And if you don't have time, I also wrote a very small blog again with BERA as part of the funding. I just want to also, at the end, thank BERA for funding the project and to everyone here for coming along to this session. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. As with last time, if there's any questions, please feel free to put your hand up. If you would prefer not to speak, then please feel free to write them in the chat, and I will monitor the chat as we go on. But thank you very much for that. I mean, obviously, I think for the disciplinary differences seem to me to be pretty important. I work in a post-92. We, by and large, developing people for business professions, etc., and AI is going to be used. So the stance for us is relatively clear. I was interested in the particular issues of those subjects where they're not so closely related to employment practice, where, and I know Ron Barnett and others have talked about the difficulty that if students can use AI to write, then it means they no longer have to think. Did that come through in your data as well, in terms of that relationship between the very act of writing and working and thinking that kind of way, and the fact that somehow students won't be able to think if we don't stop them, doing that? Yeah, totally.
I mean, so from the data, it was very clear where writing in a very coherent manner is not necessarily the outcome of the program. So for example, in social sciences, if you are able to put your ideas very clearly on paper, that is one of the major outcomes of your degree program. Where it was not the case, say, for example, in oceanography or maths that is very much focused on calculations, where you write very minimally and as required, then they were more pro Gen AI, because this is not the major outcome of the program. B, if this work can be done by a technology, why shouldn't we subscribe to it? As compared to even organizing your dissertation in social sciences, which colleagues felt that that is one of the major outcomes that students should experience. How do you make sense of the messiness of data, for instance? So you shouldn't be really using generative AI. And then I think, Richard, your point about hinders the process of thinking comes into play, that you need to think how would you organize data, and therefore shouldn't you use generative AI, because then you don't meet the learning outcome of the program. So I think it was articulated from that, in that perspective, vis-a-vis the what you should know as graduate of that program, and therefore, you know, the social contract between employment and higher education is still upheld.
Yeah. No, it's I mean, the other thing that I picked up from something you said is maybe a sideline. It may say more about my thinking than your thinking. But when you start talking about deep learning, I was going back to the work on deep learning, surface learning, and strategic learning, but also in relation to AI, where we talk about deeper learning in terms of machine learning.
Yeah.
And you know, one of the ways of describing some of these things is that AI risks students only actually focusing on the surface learning of the occasional bit of knowledge, but letting the AI think that it's going to do all the critical thinking for them. And you know how that works out in an environment in which I suspect, I mean, this is my prejudice potentially for Russell Group universities, which is where students have potentially got the money to buy more advanced AI systems and access to those. Whereas I guess many of certainly our undergraduate students would say they're using the free AI, if at all, at the moment. And that is a very big difference. Is some of the AI tools I use do a lot of that, you know, deeper kind of data management and even program writing work than which I used to do myself, but now it's so much easier to use and, you know, pay an AI system to do that.
No, I completely agree. And I think inequality is far more layered now than used to be the case before. I was at a conference a couple of months ago, and there was a colleague from a Norwegian university talking about generative AI and usage. And the work that they had presented, it looked like that they basically had completely subscribed to it. And so the quality of experience, that was the case of PhD students, thinking with AI and developing their research ideas. I don't think, even regardless of the level of or status of the university in the UK, we, for example, in Southampton, do not have that infrastructure. So the quality of experience of the PhD already have started to be differentiated. So I think I totally agree. And there are many more layers. And I'm sure in 10 years' time, we would be talking about inclusion in a very different way as we have been talking about now. My only fear is that we shouldn't forget the crux of inclusion. And that probably we'll figure it out in 10 years or so. But yeah, thank you for the question and comment. Very can resonate with the findings.
Yes. And I do think I was speaking at a conference last Monday, with a lot of PhD students, and I did begin to feel very old in terms of AI. And in fact, technology in a whole range of ways has kind of transformed quite significantly during my academic career. And I do think that some of those PhD students that are thinking with AI in a much more sophisticated way, having engaged with it much more. While people are thinking, in case there's any more questions, I will just plug. Luna, please.
Hi. I thank you, Ashla, for your very excellent presentation and your project. So I have just finished my PhD in education and history at UCL. My project focuses on the experiences of professional composer, producer, and conductor in different countries. So regarding that you mentioned how AI was used in doing history research, would it be possible that you can elaborate a bit more yeah, thank you.
Yeah, sure. Thank you for the question and congratulations on completing your PhD, Luna. So just to expand on the comment that I mentioned about history, I was not really expecting as a researcher that I would hear that comment from a history academic, to be very honest. So it was quite surprising. So I did actually ask for them to expand on it a little bit. So I'm just gonna let you know what they said. The idea that they had was very much similar to what Professor Alata said in the morning, which is our epistemic premise in UK universities are very much focused on Eurocentric view on society. And more often than not, you apply those frameworks, concepts, theories onto the context that might actually be very different to the context where these dispositions have emerged. So the person I spoke with, they said, you need to be able to tap into the knowledge that may not be necessarily written in English, circulated in English, shared in English, therefore appreciated in Anglophone countries. So their idea was really to translate using AI softwares, not just commonly openly accessible platforms, but actually investing in, there are many applications and now companies, transnational companies that have subscribed to generative AI tools to enhance the translation and validity and reliability of translation. So therefore, investing in those tools, making it accessible to the person who is doing a history, for example, research, to find out about a particular event that happened in history. How is it made sense of by different countries, different contexts? So it is to basically try addressing those epistemic injustices in the history as a discipline, and that's where they were coming from. Does that make sense?
Yes, yeah, thank you very much. So if I understand it correctly, epistemological justice and then inclusion of different historical perspectives in history research, is that the main use right now, the focus right now in history research, or is there any other way?
So
That's the
I'm not
focus right now.
suggesting what should be done. I'm just reporting on the data. So I can't say whether this is how people are using it. But from my data, this was the particular case that was shared by one of the participants. And I've provided you with the reasoning. So this is not to say this should be done. I'm just suggesting this is how staff is making sense of it.
Yes, I was
Difference.
asking about, what is happening in your project. So thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. Thank you so much for the question.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Okay, while in case there's any other questions, rather than what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug an SRHE event that's happening in. So I'm just going to, if I can, I'll just throw up the see if I can throw up me a slide. That one. That's the one I want to share. So hopefully you'll see that. So this is just another SRHE event. It just kind of fits in with the themes of what we've, I think all three papers are discussing. Vanessa and I are hosting a roundtable on inclusive AI at the SRHE offices 15th of Jan. Hopefully people will have seen that going around the call, going around that. So we've got 7 or 8 papers, short papers around AI. And on the back of that, we will be doing a series of online seminars as well during the year, looking in more detail at this idea of inclusivity in relation to AI. I'm just going to put the link in to the chat. Obviously, if you're around London, these events are free for SRHE members, so you just need to sign up, and it's a 10 till 4-ish day event in London. So thank you very much for allowing me that moment of sharing SRHE ideas. I'm just going to get rid of that so that I can actually see the list again of any more questions. So, okay, if there are no more questions, then thank you very much. I have seen the BERA publication. We would, obviously there's really great things about coming out from BERA in terms of some of their small course and the blog as well. That's great. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so let's move to our third paper in this session. So again, apologies for translation. My only for pronunciation. My only excuse is the dyslexia is not helpful when it comes to reading names. Yoko Mansuka from the University of the People in the US and the Open University UK. Paper entitled "Is Generative AI a Game Changer or a Disruptor of University English Writing Education?" So thank you very much, and I'll hand over to you.
Thank you. Thank you for introducing us. So I'm Yaoko Matsuoka. So I retired from the Japanese notable university recently, and I'm just teaching at the University of the People as an online faculty. And also I am pursuing another degree at the Open University UK. Okay, so here is Hiroyuki Ida. He is the second author. But in this presentation, I will speak solely. But after that, Hiroyuki will join the discussion. Okay. So first of all, the overview. So this case study explores student perception of using generative AI or Gen AI tools in writing assignments based on extracted questionnaire results from 12 participants in the English as a second language course at an online English medium university in the US. So our research question is, what do ES students think about using AI in writing assignments in an online university course? So the university is an online university, and for the context, the student population is very large, and they are from more than 200 countries and regions. So English is the medium of, or the only medium of the only language. So the teaching and learning medium, English is American English. And for the second language, English requirement includes the test scores from the TOEFL, IELTS, Cambridge, or some other proficiency test. And also, if students has English medium high school degree, so it is okay. So we have no conditional admission. So as you know, artificial intelligence or AI is very helpful in university education. So AI grades student essays, and AI gives feedback for student writing, and it helps students access and search for a wide range of information, and AI immediately retrieves information and generates sentences quickly, very quickly. And students are aware of and familiar with generative AI tools and use them continuously for information gathering and text paraphrasing. So according to the research in 2024. However, there is a warning about the AI's inaccuracy of information, ethical issues, and support for academic misconduct. Okay. So we conducted a questionnaire on the perception of using generative AI in an online university's academic English writing course in the late 2023. So the participants were 12 students. So out of 34 students, 12 students answered the questionnaire. So they include the 4 females and 8 males, and they are from 10 countries. The questionnaire included multiple choice questions and single choice questions, and plus 3 comment sections about their perception of using AI. And previously, we obtained the informed consent from students, and we follow the procedure of the guaranteeing anonymity. So that course is an academic English course and categorized as an ESL. And the assessment includes writing tasks and the proficiency test score, which is administered as a terminal test. And the course passing grade is students needs a 75% total score. And for the writing assignment, and this course is very heavy, has very heavy task in writing. So writing assignments for 8 weeks. So 8 weekly forum posts for 250 to 300 words. And plus, a student should make a reply to several other students with meaningful feedback and comments. And 8 weekly learning journals, including 205 words to 300 words. And a short essay, it is about 500 to 1,000 words with 3 drafts for preparatory writing. So I'll show you extract from the questionnaire results. So the number 1 question, check all the AI tools you have ever used before. This is a question. This is a multiple choice question. So 42 students selected generative AI tools such as ChatGPT. And 25 selected grammar and plagiarism checkers like Grammarly. And translation tools such as Google Translation or DeepL were selected by 25% of students. And paraphrasing tools were selected by 8%. And similarly, AI detection tools like Turnitin and GPT-0 were selected by 88% of students. So here is the extract from the students' comments. So me as a student, I frequently utilize various online tools and resources to support my studies. However, I recently encountered an intriguing proposal on how universities can minimize their dependence on external tools and resources. The notion is to incorporate supervised AI tools into the university's educational platform. This is a student comment. So the second question, so this is a single choice. So do you expect your teacher to detect the student's use of generative AI or ChatGPT in assignments, in writing assignments? So as a result, so 67% of students selected yes. I want the teacher to detect the student's use of generative AI in assignments. However, 33% of students selected no. I do not want the teacher to detect the student's use of AI in assignments. For the students' comment, so one student wrote that, in my perspective, if other students who use ChatGPT generated assignment has got a better grade than my own writing, of course, this may make feel uncomfortable. But deep inside, I repeat to myself, you did your best and put all your efforts in the right way. And of course, it is unfair and one side's right is violated. For this, in terms of checking assignments, I kindly would like the teachers to detect the students' use of ChatGPT in assignments. So this is one example of the student comment. And the third question, so which is better, a plagiarized assignment or an AI-generated assignment? This is a single choice. So for this question, so 75% of students answered that both of them are bad. However, so 8% of students selected both of them are right. And similarly, so another 8% of students selected and AI-generated assignment is better than a plagiarized assignment. But other 8% selected a plagiarized assignment is better than an AI-generated assignment. So For this question, the student comment is ChatGPT is nothing more than a plagiarizer. So it collects information from other people on the web and present it in the form of a response. The difference perhaps is that it shows some of the sources it has researched. And I have to be honest, I've used it a few times at work and here to save time because my level of command of the English language is not very good, and so I need help sometimes. So this student is from the 75% population. The next one, and the fourth question. So if students regularly use AI and ChatGPT for assignments, what do you think will happen? So this is a single choice question. So 33% of students answered that they may finally fail the course or their study. So they cannot learn English writing skills well. 25% of them answer that they will get into the habit of writing with generative AI and become unable to write a proper paper on their own. And another 25% answer that they may stop writing with Gen AI and begin writing by their own again. So this is a very positive view. And 70% of students answer that they will get better scores than others and succeed in the courses. So the question number 5. So what do you think about the students' use of generative AIs in writing assignment without saying so? This is a single choice. So 50% of students answer that the students should not use them for their assignment without saying so. However, 42% of students answer that students can use them when necessary. And 8% answered the students can use them at any time. So the result is shown in the small graph in the right side. So I'll show you some extract from student comment in the free comment space. So one student commented that students should not use AI because it encourages students to rely on artificial intelligence instead of or developing their own critical thinking and problem-solving skills. And another student, in the end, it is a tool that facilitates everything for the students, and therefore there is no actual study or mental work, and this leads to laziness. So on the other hand, the students who answered that students can use AI when necessary. So it will be better not to use ChatGPT to do the work, but we can use it to improve our understanding. ChatGPT can generate more facts than a human can find out in a short period of time. So that is a benefit. And students can use AI at any time. The student who answered that students can use AI at any time wrote that. So it is okay to use it. So I didn't try much for my lessons, and I try more and more. So I always complain myself. Okay, so to sum up, so many students think that they should not use generative AI tools in writing assignments. So although the rest answer that they could use them when necessary. And about 75% responded that writing with generative AI is equally unfavorable as plagiarism, and the teacher should detect the student's wrong use of them. So many were concerned that repeated use of these tools may lead them to its habitual use and cause failure. So teachers often relate AI misuse of students to academic ethics. But many students are concerned that regularly using such tools would prevent them from acquiring knowledge, improving their writing skills, and achieving the results of their effort. So in conclusion, so the problems of the student misuse of AI cannot be solved solely by technology. Okay, communication with the student is indispensable. And college English writing needs improvements, I think, and teachers should be aware of the issue. So if there is no AI use problem in the writing class, in your writing class, it may mean that the instructional content or writing assignment is too easy. The more demanding the writing instruction is, the more chance of plagiarism and AI misuse will happen. So although the generating the result is difficult because of the small number of subjects and free participation of the questionnaire. But this case study provides some hints on solving the disadvantageous aspects of generative AI in second language writing. So not only from a technical, but a cognitive point of view. So thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much. And again, if there are any questions, please raise hands, and then put your microphone on, and we should be able to hear you. I mean, I think it's interesting in terms of, I mean, I lead a program that has a strong international student component. One of the things, although we ask obviously for English language competencies before students arrive, a significant number are now using AI tools just to be able to communicate in class and in terms of doing some of their formative work. I did wonder whether it came through at all, whether or not there was a difference in view as to whether AI tools in terms of learning English and engaging in an English writing course was okay if you thought you were going to use AI for the rest of your time in terms of writing in English or any other language. You know, similarly for me as a native English speaker to be able to communicate in other languages, AI is really very helpful. I'm just wondering whether that changes students' views on whether AI use is good or bad.
Yes, I think so. So AI is very useful, but it is a kind of the double-edged sword. So as the other presenters like Lei Fang and Achala was stating, so I completely agree with them, and I think the establishing the policy, the stable policy of the not only inside the class or the small department, but the university level, the very rigid policy making is the urgent needs, I think.
Yeah, because what I think one of the things that interests me in terms of as I saw the data across the different questions, I was interested in what the interrelationship was between some of the earlier questions and some answers to the later questions in terms of the individual cases, because it seems, I mean, I interested in you know, to what extent those that are regularly or regularly engaging in using AI have different views from those who aren't, and to what extent I was also quite interested, because I think this is certainly true in some of our students, is that those students who feel more confident in English are very much against AI use, in part because I think they get an advantage from their English capability, whereas those who are weaker are much more pro AI use.
Yes, that's the one aspect of the difficulty of AI research. And actually, I conducted a questionnaire, but it was the free participation status. And as a result, relatively good students or proficient students, very good students answer the questionnaire, but the actual target of the plagiarism students did not answer the question.
Yeah.
So I cannot generalize this question, but this is the kind of one case study, and this is the one fact, and I think, and it is very important for us, teachers and instructors and researchers to accumulate the kind of the case studies. So what they are doing now, or what you are doing now, for what measure you are taking currently for the AI problems. So accumulating the case studies is needed, I think.
Yeah. I think what all three papers show is the case studies in very different areas in which AI is being implemented is a kind of important dimension, rather than just, if you like, general views, getting down to disciplinary and other specific, and in this case, in terms of language, L2 language learning, which does seem to be one of the areas that AI has been identified as being particularly helpful, or particularly the possibilities are particularly strong in that area. Okay, other questions from colleagues? If not, I shall, in a moment, I'll close this session up, and we can head for coffee. But we've got a few minutes left if there's anything else. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you to all speakers in this session. I really enjoyed the papers on AI. For those who are attending and can attend the face-to-face conference during the rest of the week, I know there are some more discussions to go on about AI in SRHE, and as I say, we have another session on the 15th of January on AI for those who are living around the UK and living around London. But thank you very much to presenters. Thank you very much for attendees. We will now switch over into coffee break. But thanks for the applause. I won't get everybody to switch mics on and applaud as we would do in a room. But thank you very much for that. The next session is at 11:45, and you should be able to get the link from the conference program. But thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Richard, for amazing